Bingies! Welcome to the BingeWorthy podcast, part of the Geekish Network. My name is Johnny Randolph, and I've got three great co-hosts with me here today. My first co-host is the Newt from the Ville, Raka. Say what's up to the people, man.
Hello, Governor.
And my other co-host is Chuck. Yo, let them know who you are, son.
What it do, people? We're back again.
And my final co-host is, she's no stranger to the Bingeworthy podcast, Catherine. Say what's up to the people, man.
What's up? What up? Hey.
Awesome. And we are the Bingeworthy podcast. And today we are talking I Am Virgo. This is on Amazon Prime. It has 7 episodes with a runtime of about 30 minutes. The premise of I Am Virgo is Cootie. He is a 13-foot giant, a 19-year-old black man raised by his aunt and uncle in Oakland, California. He is shielded from the outside world until being accidentally discovered by a group of teenage political activists. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to rate this, and then we engage in discussion, and we re-rate it again. So, Rodney, can you please put on the screen what everybody rated I Am Virgo? All right, so I say got a full meal, we got a mini meal, we got a mini meal, and we got a full binge out. So a lot of diversity amongst this crew. All right, if we divide that by 4, we get a 3.75. So that rounds it up to a full meal. All right, this is going to be some interesting discussion. I'm going to start off with you, Chuck. I'm start off with you, Chuck, since you kind of brought it up in Crosstalk. I didn't even know you were going to go here. You said you were watching Double Toasted, and they said this is a superhero. My first question was going to be, what genre of show is this? Is this superhero? Is it coming of age? Is it sci-fi? What are your thoughts?
I think it's surrealism. It's similar to Atlanta. That has a lot of surrealism, or Twin Peaks. It's a surrealism type of show. They do a lot of super phenomenon things in it, and it shows us a message for a modern world. So I wouldn't call it superhero. Wouldn't call it sci-fi. I wouldn't even call it a coming of age story. It is a coming of age story, but it's definitely a surrealistic story itself.
Okay. So, Raquel, we're going to keep with this sort of theme. Who would you say is the target audience for this series?
Um, that's an interesting question. I would say probably everyone who was at the conference you just came back from. So your blurred crime type of crew. I do agree with it's a very surreal sci-fi type of series. I never looked at it as a superhero series. It's a coming of age story, and it does have some superhero elements in it. It's a dystopian, capitalistic, surreal sci-fi series. So.
Okay. All right. So, Catherine, I'm going to turn it over to you. So, Chuck here said it's not, Raquel both said it's not superhero-ish, but I don't know. Let's say if it was. So we noticed that the budget is vastly lower than what we would get with a Marvel or a DC budget. But that's not a bad thing. This series, it has, I feel, its own look. How do you think the visual effects, though, impacted the quality of the show?
Had a wider range of styles. Like you had stop motion, you had paper cutout, you had 2D digital animation, live action with overlays of VFX. So I think that its pros were it had a range in different styles that in ways reminded me of Atlanta. I think it was the Disney episode. There were some episodes where they did use animation in Atlanta, but I almost put this in a deeper end of surrealism. Like Atlanta has its own surrealism, but this has like a different style of surrealism.
Almost hyper surrealism.
It's what?
Almost hyper surrealism.
Yeah, I wanted to call it super surrealism because you were saying like superhero and surrealism. Like it's super surrealism. So, yeah.
Okay. Chuck, you're heavily involved and are very knowledgeable about special effects and visual effects. What was your thoughts on how this show looked?
The show remind me of what was that show that was on Netflix where the superheroes had normal clothes? What was it? Jupiter's
Rising?
Jupiter Ascending.
Ascending. Yeah, I knew it was going up.
No, that's wrong. No, that was a movie. That was a movie that flopped.
Yeah. But they had superhero clothes and it was the bad costuming and wig design. So
yeah, but it was
was
done. It's Jupiter's legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy. So
Jupiter's terrible. I mean, legacy.
bad wigs.
Legacy. I mean,
Bodysuits.
but that was the look of the show. The show was going for a normal costume look of a modern era. It wasn't like super. It wasn't like polished. It was like what would people actually wear? When these are the type of uniforms they wear. Like nobody has a Kevlar suit like Clark Kent.
No.
I thought that the older ones did. Like I don't know. I just remember suits pretty heavily in that show. I guess.
Yeah, they had the older ones. What was his name? Josh
Duhamel.
Yeah, he had like a over the top, like straight out of vintage Superman type of suit.
Yes, yes. So like it was made out of real cloth.
What Chuck is saying is like it looks like
real
it was
clothing.
made by somebody, not like
it's not made like
a costume made by a homeboy, as opposed to like Iron Man. Like there's nobody that looked like Iron Man in Jupiter's Legacy. Like,
yeah,
I think Edna Modes made all their outfits.
Right. Yeah. That was their best.
I mean,
it's cotton and lycra.
Right.
No, they definitely had thicker patterns. They had like kind of the Spider-Man-esque materials that were from the 2000s that had the
early 2000s.
And they had shoulder pads.
Tony Stark.
Oh
Spider-Man
no,
uniform. Like
nobody had on the Superman suit from Superman Returns. Like
it
was made of Kevlar. His suit was made of Kevlar material. It was impenetrable.
I guess like the look of it, like the style of those outfits definitely had a lot of more that were similar to other superhero shows, but like a cheaper budget.
Yeah, they're similar to like I went to a fabric store and I bought the fabric and I made a superhero suit.
Yeah, it was like
That's
before Tony gave Tom Holland the suit. It was like that feel. Like they sewed it together, something like that. So I thought.
It was tailored costumes made by a tailor for them. There were the costumes were what Wonder Woman had, where it has armor on it or something like that. It was metals on top of fabrics. It was all fabric. And I feel like that's what these visual effects felt like. It was like normal everyday clothing style of clothes. And that somebody can actually go out and buy the fabric down in the fabric district and make a superhero suit.
So did it fit this world for you? Did the look of it fit this world for you?
It was modern day Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back to talking about I'm a Virgo, right?
Yeah, we're talking about I'm a Virgo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought even though it seemed like it could be in the not too far off future, because it was hyper capitalistic and with the product placement, it seemed like a world that was well on its way to idiocracy. It did seem like modern day Oakland and what you would see, people normally wearing. So it did feel real in that sense.
Like when you looked at the main actor's clothes, what's his name?
Cootie?
His clothes. It was
Jerome.
Yeah. Yeah, when you looked at Cootie's clothing, it was just it was a patchwork of multiple different types of fabrics that his mother made for him.
Mm-hmm.
And but
that was fitting for. I mean, he's 13 feet tall, so I mean, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't just run out to Macy's.
Go to Walmart,
that is not at Ross.
Even when he was like I think a teen, you could tell that he had like bedding for like onesies. Like it was like this bunch of bedding that was put together.
Bunch of bedding put
I
together.
wonder where did they get his diaper from? Because that's the. I mean, even if you got it depends, that ain't doing it. Ain't.
I'm
Man.
trying to figure out who birthed him. Like how
Mother, and she died.
did she die?
Yeah,
Or-
Yeah, that's in the beginning in the first episode.
Yeah.
She's at like the bar or something like that. Or not a bar, but like it's like a riot is going on or something, and you see her with this big old baby.
Yeah, I saw the baby. I'm just like, even before giving birth, like, this is a big baby that doesn't fit in you.
I'm a woman. Yeah, I know it, right?
So did
I
he?
wonder, and Mike Epps touched on it a little bit, and we'll get back on track.
Yeah,
Man,
but
how
that
much
was
it
that
cost
was
to
a
feed
A B.
him?
Like
How
when
much it cost to feed Cootie?
yeah, like when Flora was when she was moving in hyperspeed, it was like showing the actual character moving behind her. I thought that was cool.
Hmm.
We're gonna talk
Like
about that.
it
I
was a
thought that
low,
was.
but it was like something you would see on the old Nickelodeon show, like on Pinwheel or something.
But did you guys think that it worked for this story
Yeah.
that they were telling?
Yes.
Yes, because that's Boots Riley's style.
All right. So, Chuck, I'm gonna go over here. This show, I thought it touched on a lot of things: power outages and underserved communities, lack of health care, housing crisis. Do you think the show did a good job of addressing these issues, or did it miss the mark?
I think it did a good job of addressing the issues. It talked about how basically capitalism controls everything and that they can market any message to us and have something that's bad and sell it as good. And for people that don't know any better, they would think it's good.
Yeah, I think the
Big
negative.
Bang Burger was considered, everybody loved Big Bang Burger, but when Cootie had it for the first time, he hated it because it actually wasn't good.
Because it wasn't good for him, and he had been eating a great diet, a healthy diet, his
Yeah.
whole life. And then he goes and he's fantasizing about something to find out this shit is just terrible.
Terrible. Yes.
Do you think there's a metaphor for the burger and like what happens at the end to him?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's very McDonald's like, right? Like kids beg for McDonald's and their parents try to give them better, they give them better burgers at home and whatnot. But the messaging of McDonald's is so powerful, it has convinced people that it's good. It's so funny. I was just in the room in Clubhouse yesterday, and there was a guy there who was trying to explain to me why McDonald's burgers are better than most gourmet burgers. He was like, it's better than Wagyu burgers. And I was like, what are
He
you?
is on drugs.
Yeah.
He's
Why
like-
are you talking? Why are you arguing? Why are you talking to that guy? Like,
I was like, if that's the case, then why does the Wagyu? He said, you're buying it because it's expensive. I said, no, I'm buying it because it tastes better.
why did you have that conversation? Like,
I asked him, I said,
stop.
have you ever had a Wagyu burger? And he was like, no. I said, then why we even discussing?
Why? What? I
Yeah,
knew
you
you
can't
weren't. Why
argue
were you
about something
talking
you-
when he said McDonald's was good? Like, why were you having that conversation?
Because people do believe McDonald's is good.
That's fine. They let them believe.
Yeah,
it.
that's like but that's the power of marketing. I mean, it's just like my oldest
Actually,
Right.
that's what this
Yeah.
show is about, the power of marketing.
yeah, my
capitalism.
my oldest son will argue me up and down and tell me that the best deodorant in the world is Old Spice Swagger. And I was like, Old Spice? Nobody wear Old Spice. But ever since Terry Crews and them other guys started doing Old Spice, then the commercials, that's convinced all sorts of people that Old Spice is where it's at. And I was like, man, you couldn't have paid us to wear Old Spice.
And the impacts of capitalism is a constant theme, and I even think a character in this series. So we'll talk about that a little later. So, Captain, I'm going to transition over to you. We meet Cootie's aunt and uncle. They make a decision to keep Cootie hidden from the world because they believe they are protecting him. Was this a good decision, and why?
no, it was bad.
Why do you believe so?
Because especially at the age range where he was at, people around that age are gonna. I'm not gonna put it on everyone, but typically you become more curious about the outside world, and he's 13-foot tall person that can bulldoze the whole house. So it was getting tall, too cramped. So I don't think it was a good idea to shield him. I think they should have, still had him on that diet and everything, but get him exposure to the outside world Because I think what the TV did ultimately was kind of warp his, towards capitalism and whatever. He's like, I have to have the burger. I'm repeating lines from what I'm seeing. I worship this hero that doesn't like me in the end, and so no, I don't think it was a great idea, but I understand their intentions.
Yeah. And
You
again,
know, the only thing about that is I agree with you, Catherine, but I can't think of any way for them to have given him exposure to the outside world. Unless they bought like a semi truck and put tinted windows in the back bed of a 18-wheeler or something. I don't understand. I can't think of any practical way that makes sense for them to have given him exposure to the outside world.
They could have like
we're being
moved
all
to
serious now, but Mark, he asked you, Rakai, what deodorant should we be wearing?
Which
Oh, he froze up on us. Go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead, Chuck. You were going to make a point.
I was gonna say that it's hard to give him exposure, but they should give him more knowledge on things. They should have made him more knowledgeable. They let him read comic books and watch television as his primary education sources.
yeah, but I
So
guess I'll,
yeah, like he watched Parking Tickets, and Parking Tickets was a full of shows. It shows like all adult cartoons right now. Like there's no meaning or definition or life lessons given in adult cartoons. It was at the end of the day, everybody just laughs at the kid going boing 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 boing. And they had that one show where he goes boing 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 to everybody until he dies, and it made everybody's brain melt like much because they realized the show wasn't about anything.
mm-hmm.
So,
Kind of like American Dad or Family Guy, where the show's not really about anything.
Yeah. I guess like also, him eating and everything, they didn't give him table manners, so he
Yeah,
just like
table manners. Yeah,
yeah. So I don't know. I just felt like they left a lot out in terms of like there's
Absolutely.
healthy stuff, but there's a lot left out where I'm like at least decent table manners, like what's happening in the world in like a way. Maybe take him to the forest where people won't see him. Like they're out in California in the Bay Area, so
yeah,
I
and
think I
also
think it also has something to do with the fact that there's an uncle. When whoever the mother was related to, whichever one of them she was related to, I think it was Mike Epps' sister, wasn't it?
I kept sister. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think they weren't ready to raise a child, and they didn't really change. They changed who they were to take care of and protect him the best that they could, but they weren't ready to let go of their former selves. Like Mike Epps was still pining for the days when he was a music star or whatever. So, for them to, I absolutely agree that they should have armed him with more information, because for some parts of there, I was like, is he part alien or something? They had space ray laser guns and stuff. I was like, what the?
no,
Okay,
but
we took a little bit of a turn here.
that's part of it too. They were arming themselves for the revolution, and they're going to weaponize him. They weaponized him. Like his aunt went to Jonesy and was like, "You want to sit here in this protest? Now we got to blow some shit up.
mm-hmm.
We got to blow some shit up." And
Well,
then
that's what they said, that they had been preparing for,
preparing
based
for him.
on what happened to every other giant, which is sad that shit is not made up. That shit is actually very real.
Yeah.
Unless they played in the NBA, your Yao Mings and Shaqs are the only ones who done got away and shit. But I think that's very real. What has happened to most people who are labeled with gigantism or whatever, and yeah, I think you're absolutely right that they knew that they were coming for him, so they're like, no, we
Right.
gonna see him coming, and we gonna do something about it this time.
I don't think it's just to see them come. They just looking for opportunity for the revolution to be televised, and we got this big giant kid. We're going to use him as the one of the weapons we have.
when were they? Like, I mean, he was 19 and they were still like, nah, you shouldn't go out the house. Like, you still
Yeah,
should.
because they wanted to
Like,
keep him in because he's the perfect weapon. Like they even said what they're going to do. One day people are going to use you, and then they're going to discard you when they don't need you anymore.
Or come
Yeah,
after him and destroy him. But they said until he was like 21.
So
yeah, you're
here,
the hero, so you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So let's talk about some of the actors. Cootie, he's the main character of this series. Was he a strong enough character to keep you interested?
Um, no, I think the ensemble was what made it interesting. Now I think the way that he played his character, um, with a real sense of wonder, and like he was, I think he played it as the coming of age
Oh,
Oh, we lost you again.
we lost you again.
than 18, 19 years old. I think he played that fantastically. But him by himself, if it wasn't for his little crew, Jones, I can't remember dude's name, Reggie or whatever it was, my dude from uh On
Felix.
My Block. Yeah,
Felix.
Felix from On My Block. And
Yes.
even their little partner Scat that died or whatever, his crew is what made that solid to me.
All right, so Captain, I'm gonna transition over to you. Cootie, he finds a love interest, right? And in this love interest, she has a unique ability. She has one that we've seen before, things going really fast, but the way this show depicted it, I thought was really interesting. How she had to work to slow down for everybody to keep up with you. How did you feel about this depiction of like having super speed and how this show addressed it?
It was a nice, refreshing depiction. It was also interesting when she was moving fast, like her clothes, like certain. It's almost like a collage. So she's wearing like different clothes in certain sequences, and like maybe I think one of those, those green suits where your face and everything's covered. There's instances when she is moving or doing different things where she's wearing something like that. But I thought it was a very refreshing take, but it's also kind of depressing because she had to slow down and had to figure out how to communicate with her parents and just being a baby and trying to drink milk, but she was too fast, which gave me all sorts of questions about all that, and figuring that out as parents, as well as not hurting anyone. So my brain went like a dark route with that. But I thought it was very refreshing, especially with the amount of speedster characters we have in like Hollywood, where they're just moving fast, they're moving slow, but not in the way in which this show did it, which is more of like a collage.
Okay, Chuck, look like you trying to say something. Did you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've ever seen somebody that naturally move fast all the time. It wasn't like our normal speedsters where they could choose when they want to be fast. She had the whole idea she had to make a conscious decision to slow down to understand her parents, number one, because they thought she was mute, right? They like the host things like they thought she was a mute. And it was just that she was moving so fast. I mean, they were just too slow for her. So I thought that was very interesting, fascinating.
I thought that was one of my favorite kind of plot points. And she talked about how bored she was because everybody's so damn slow. Like, oh,
Yeah.
God.
I honestly
But
wanted to see more the show focus on that character the most because it was
and,
just more interesting to me.
and you know what it reminded me of? What she reminded me of? The way that she played the character, it reminded me of those kids in school who people assume that they're on the spectrum, and they think that they're on the low end of the spectrum because they don't do their work or they're not performing well in school, but it's because they're so intelligent that they're bored, and the rest of the kids, even the teachers, are moving at too slow a pace for their pace of learning. And that's the way that she played this, is like she almost had to dumb herself down to get on everyone else's page. And
Yeah.
that's what it reminded me of. And I thought that that was so interesting.
So, do you all think that was intentional? Like, I actually think there's a lot of comparison what you're saying, Rikai,
Yeah.
talking about that. Do you all think that maybe that was intentional in making this character this way?
Yes, if you know anything about Boots Riley, Riley, he's very intentional in everything he does.
I think it was
Like,
Yeah, and especially how so many other pieces of this are correlations, about the world that we live in, and especially how things are perceived in the Black community. I think that this was kind of a a parallel to how things are when we have so many young people who are misdiagnosed as being, they are quick to throw them as they are BD, they are, special ed, they're on the autism spectrum. They need ADD and ADHD and all these medicines and things. And maybe that's not the case. And I'm not saying that they have superpowers, but maybe they just operate at a completely different frequency, and we make no attempts to get on that frequency ever. We try to push everything towards the middle, and we want to pull the low people up and then bring the high people down. But really, we stay focused on the low end of the spectrum, and we really don't make any attempt for the middle, and definitely not for the high.
Yeah, because I also got
go ahead, Catherine.
I got a late diagnosis for ADD. My brother has ADHD, so I definitely felt like that. And I would say both characters, both the love interest. Sorry, I'm really bad with characters' names, but both love interest and the main character, I would say we're kind of meeting those spectrum routes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Ricardo, those were some really good points. I really have to agree with you. So, and Chuck, what you said, it being intentional, I think that's where he's telling the director, I forgot what you just said his name was, right? He's
Bruce Riley.
Bruce Riley. He's really touching on a lot of things, right? Mixed diagnosis of kids with mental disorders, or at least alleged mental disorders, the energy crisis. Because as soon as I saw that, I thought Flint, Michigan. I was like, yeah, that's Flint, Michigan, 100%.
They're doing that with power in Flint, Michigan. I thought it was just water.
I was thinking of it just from terms of water. The resources are so bad. It wasn't necessarily electricity in Flint, but the resources are so bad.
There are a lot of large U.S. cities that deal with brownouts right now, all the time.
Yeah.
I think it could be a metaphor for all resource-starved inner city poor communities.
Yeah.
Whether it's water, whether it's food, whether it's power, whatever the case may be, whatever housing, whatever L is bothering you, it could be a metaphor for it.
Well, people have to understand where Bruce Riley came from. He's one of the founding members of the Coup, which was one of the big.
Is he?
Yeah,
he's the lead singer of the Coup.
In the Coup.
How did I not know that?
Yeah, him and E-Rock. It was him and E-Rock, and he was the main rapper. It's a political rap group. They're literally political.
I know the Coup is. DJ Pam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the Coup is. Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. So, Kill My Landlord is all about that. He talks about brownouts in Oakland. Oakland and Richmond used to go through brownouts. They still do. A lot. St. Louis goes through brownouts right now, where they cut off the power for a couple of hours every night.
They cut it. They literally cut it off every.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There are places in America that cut.
And take a wild guess at which communities are affected by those.
Oh, I don't need to guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Ricard, I feel like in this series, there could have been a lot of villains, right? I think Cootie could have been a villain. His parents could have been a villain. Capitalism could have been a villain. That one crazy guy at the end could have been a villain. Who in this series was the villain to you?
Alex, I'm going to go with E, all of the above. And I think that was the point. I think that when he was making his overture, or Jones made her overture at the end to the hero, that was the show, because he said something succinctly earlier on, that he only sees things in black and white. There is no gray. And I think, it's very easy to be the hero today and the villain tomorrow, and I think that was kind of the point of that they were trying to make, that it's not that easy to delineate between what is right and what is wrong sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. Captain, what about you? Who's the villain of this series?
I still would say it's all the above, but it really ultimately is all the above due to capitalism, which I think was brought up in the lady doing the whole kind of
Jones.
yeah. and she kept on referencing everything, but it was all ended up being due to capitalism and the nature of that, and that causes this, tree of events. So I'd still say capitalism, but it's all the above, but due to capitalism.
What about you, Chuck? You feel like do you feel like there's a villain, or is just everybody kind of shades of gray in this series?
I thought this is a very interesting show, right? Because Cootie got in his head you had to be the villain to be the hero. And that's anybody that attacks capitalism. You're a villain if you attack capitalism, but you're actually trying to be the hero. Where the hero thought, in order to be the hero, you got to protect capitalism. In Jonesy shows, there's a thin line between legality and illegality. And that thin line is if a law has been passed to protect what's going on, the type of business is going on. So business and capitalism is the villain. And it depends if it's on the legal side. The legal side depends on how politicians sway in that era. Like when she talked about prohibition, and she's like, during prohibition, when the other rum runners would kill you, it was illegal. But when they legalize alcohol and the cops kill you for stealing some alcohol, then it's legal. And the same thing with marijuana. Like when marijuana is illegal, other drug dealers and stuff kill you for your money and for your drugs, and it's illegal. But when we legalize it, the cops do it.
You still got people out there serving time for marijuana, and it's legal in some states, and it's legal in half the states in the country.
Yeah.
States that still are housing prisoners on marijuana charges, but those are brown, black, and Asian prisoners they're locked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think that's a capitalism thing.
Yeah, it's still black people in California where weed is legal who are locked up for non-violent weed-related offenses.
Not just black people, it's black, Hispanic, and Asian. It's very, very targeted. It's very targeted.
Crazy.
And they allowed all the white men out, then gave them money to that economy to open up their own dispensaries and farms.
Yeah, and they talk about it. Somebody was talking about how hard it is for black people to get in the weed business.
Yep. Which is interesting hearing about the branding side of weed business and navigating the legality of that, and if they're not careful. But yeah.
So Rakai, we got 7 episodes. They were about a half an hour a piece. I think the first one was close to an hour. Was this sufficient time to tell this story? Could we have used less or more episodes, and why?
No, I think it was just about right. And we've talked in past episodes about shows that went 10 episodes or 12 or 16, and where we did not need that many episodes. And then we were also getting a flux of a lot of shows now that are around 6 episodes, but about an hour or so. I think they told a good story in 6, or what was it? 3.5, 4 hours.
It was 7 episodes.
7 episodes. Yeah. But I'm saying if each one's about 30 minutes, 3.5, 4 hours, they told a good story or whatever. So
okay. Catherine, season 2, do we need it or not?
No, I don't. I think this kind of wrapped itself up. And yeah, I don't really need to see a season 2. It wasn't bad. It's just not. It's not my cup of tea per se.
Okay. What about you, Chuck? You feeling like season 2 is it needed or not?
I kind of want to know what's going on with his blisters and his soreness, and him opening up his stomach towards the end there. Is he not human or not? And I'm kind of curious about that, because at first I thought it was the materials he was putting on when he was doing that fashion, and the fashion was sort of cheap. They had him model in that fashion. That was what's causing his breakout. But when I got to the end, he was ripping open his stomach. I'm kind of curious what's under his stomach. But outside of that, I agree with Catherine. I thought this kind of wrapped itself up and it ended pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Jones, I would like to see a series with just her and what she's like, because I found her to be a very fascinating.
That his girlfriend?
No.
That's the girl that was leads the protest. Who, in order to win the battle against capitalism, you got to organize the people.
Mm-hmm.
do we feel that way? Because I loved her too. I actually thought she was the hero of the series. Do we feel that way because maybe the character Cootie is on the weak side?
He's young. He's immature. He doesn't know anything. I think his parents
Yeah,
purpose.
he's a child.
But he's 19. He's 19, and he's the
No,
same.
He's 19 in age. He's a child.
He's a child.
He just in the last what 6 months is the first time he's been out of the house in his life.
House. I don't
He's
know.
like an intelligent Superman that's been locked away.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Superman story where they lock him away,
Mhm.
and
He becomes Brightburn.
so he only had the knowledge of like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old that watches TV all the time, and none of that is healthy.
Yeah.
His upbringing was not healthy. Outside of them feeding him properly, his upbringing was not healthy at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I still think that burger is somehow related to his rash, like because it was oozing out weird gunk. Like I mean,
I
it's-
didn't
Yeah.
think that at all because when the aunt and uncle started talking about, he's not ready. At first, I just thought that they were talking about the revolution and they coming for him, but they were very specific about the age 19. And they took out or something. They were looking at something, and it almost
Oh,
There you go. We lost Rakai again.
yeah, we keep losing you, Rakai.
Man.
I actually want to see a season 2.
and now his sores have opened up, and there's some.
Bro, we missed half of
Okay,
what
this
you
boy is
said.
half alien or something like.
We missed half your.
We missed half of what you said.
Well, I said a lot of stuff, and it was very, very.
I believe you,
poignant.
but
Yeah.
we didn't hear none of it. We heard.
And all I keep seeing on my computer is your internet connection is unstable. Let's see where. Okay, so I never thought that it was the clothing. I always thought that. So there was an early part where his aunt and uncle were very specific about the age 19. Now, at first, I thought it was just because of the revolution. They were like, he'll be.
There you go again. We lost.
No, remember they were doing
yeah,
19.
specific.
Start writing on it.
All
And I
right,
was
we
like,
heard.
what's
Remember
some
they
alien
were very specific on 19, and then it was like, so between 19 and where you just
Okay.
ended, we lost.
All right, you know what? I'm out. All right.
I gotta
No, I'm just saying. They pulled out something like a book that had writing on it. Looked like it was from Predator. It was very alien-like.
leave. Yeah,
That they did do that.
yeah. I got the thought that maybe he's not from,
Earth.
Earth.
Yes.
Superman creature.
Yeah, and
From that scene, I got that feeling, but I didn't feel that again until the end when he pulled up his shirt.
But
Yeah.
I still feel like Catherine.
Huh?
I still feel like Catherine. We don't need another season.
I want to see a season 2. It's an original
I feel like
property.
I feel like what's gonna happen is he's gonna transform, and it's gonna be super random and unrelated. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's gonna be like the end of. Sorry, Bob.
Mark in the
So,
chat
let
said
me-
one of the founders of Rockefeller got locked up for brokering a Reed dispensary deal. Biggs got locked up for doing that. Yeah, so
Let me throw my 2 cents out there. I agree with you guys. I don't want to see a season 2. I think it wrapped up fine. I think it would be interesting to see a series about Jones. I would like to know what happens to Cootie, but you can tell me that off camera. I think if they did another series or something, it would mess it up. I think it's good where it is. Like right now, I felt like it was super interesting. I gave it a binge worthy because I felt like people should see it. It's a very good commentary on the Black community and a lot of things that happen in disenfranchised communities. Whether you get the moral of it or not. But I think a season 2 would, you're going M. Night Shyamalan.
we know where he was going with that. All right.
Something else I thought was very interesting was the hero in his layer. He never left his layer. Like his building would stretch out and it's lower depending on where he wanted to be in his life. So he built this building to like emulate his whole entire life. and he never left. So he was mentally immature with the world too, until
Yeah.
Jonesy exposed the world to him. So you have Cootie that was always locked up like Superman, like in the fields, working out on his own and whatnot, then being exposed around people. Then you had Jonesy, who's like Batman. I'm not Jonesy, but the hero that's like Batman in this wealthy tower, who only was around himself and people he chose to be around to help him market his brand.
And
You know the crazy thing is, I never thought of the hero as Batman.
Mhm.
I thought of the hero as Doofenshmirtz.
What?
it was Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
You
Oh.
got us all here. It was
Kinda like Doofenshmirtz.
Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah, from Phineas and Ferb.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't
wow.
watch. I don't. Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
Okay.
Her, but I don't think
Phineas and
it's
Phineas
smart.
and Ferb is an
I didn't.
outstanding.
I didn't even go there. No,
Yeah, he's Doofenshmirtz.
but he's. I think he's more Batman than
I
anything.
thought Batman
With
too. I
Batman.
thought they mentioned Batman earlier in
I
it.
mean, I guess I don't know. I just was in regards to his building.
Yeah, Doofenshmirtz stays in the building, but I think it's Batman the way he was living. Like, I don't leave my confines of this palace that I created for myself.
Like a
And
Batman Iron Man thing.
like, he doesn't even go on dates with women without his assistant doing pre-dates.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was weird, and I thought he wanted to date his assistant. Like I don't.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I did
thought
too.
that was weird. I thought that's where we were going with it.
I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
he was. I think his whatever his assistants approves of, he approves of.
He does some more puppet for him. You know.
All
Like,
right. So, any other topics you guys want to bring up before we re-rate this thing?
Oh no.
All right. So let's start with you, Catherine. How are you going to re-rate it? You gave it a mini meal the first time. How are you going to re-rate it this time?
I still give it a mini meal. Like I'm not against this show. I think it's definitely there's a lot of good messaging in it. I think it's kind of like in an A24 category where like the style of certain things might throw people off. Like for me, this is not a show I was going to pick up per se. Until I think I heard it was like a superhero thing, but then I watched it like I don't know, this is different. It was an interesting watch. It's just I probably won't watch this again, and it was enough. But I think it has a lot of great messaging and a lot of good important messaging and interesting visuals. So
Okay. All right. I'm going to jump in here real quickly. I'm going to keep my rating the same. I rated it 4 mil. I'm going to keep it there. I really enjoyed the show. I didn't know if I would or not. I thought it touched on a lot of topics. Everybody and all the characters weren't fully fleshed out, but I thought we got what we needed for this season. I have to concur with Rakai. I think 7 episodes, about 30 minutes, was the real sweet spot. You know, we didn't get beleaguered with a lot of extraneous commentary. We were succinct and to the point. So for those reasons, I enjoyed the characters. Cootie wasn't the strongest protagonist, but his ensemble, I thought they added a lot of value to it. I definitely don't think it rises to the level of a full binge out, but I definitely think this is a 4 mil. So I'm gonna keep mine as the 4 mil. Ricard, what about you, sir?
I think when I started thinking about it, at first I was like, it was a binge worthy because I thought that other people need to see this because of the commentary and because of the just the uniqueness of the show. However, when I think binge worthy, I also think of something that has high rewatchability. And like Catherine said, I'm not going to rewatch this. I also thought about binge worthy means, would I recommend this to other people? And sometimes, this is the kind of show you either like it or you hate it. There's not a whole lot of in the middle on this one. And sometimes if you recommend something bad to someone, they don't take your word for it anymore. So I'm going to drop my rating to a full meal. I think it was good. I think it was solid. I think one season is enough. But I'm probably not going to rewatch it. And I would be sparse on who I recommend it to. It would have to be people who I really think would be able to get something out of this.
Okay. All right, Chuck. What about you?
I'm gonna plus one everything Catherine said, and plus one everything Rakai said, and keep it at a mini meal. I love Bruce Riley. I love the social commentary of this show, but then I think it's targeted a specific audience that I think would have to be a level of wokeness. And I don't mean the black type of wokeness, which is normal. I mean the white type of wokeness, which means they have to be progressive in thought. And they have to understand this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna keep it as a mini meal. I thought Cootie was a weak protagonist, and I wanted more of the crew. I wanted more Felix. You know, I thought Felix was gonna betray him eventually because the way they said the parents talked, and when people use you, I thought Felix was gonna be the one. But Felix was his ride or die until Scott got killed, and he was that was my best friend. Who he did he was Scott didn't get killed, he got injured on a bicycle accident. And the hospital wouldn't treat him. And I mean, there's so much good commentary behind that, but
Yeah.
I don't see any rewatchability in this for me. I hope Boots has another show similar to Donald Glover. He has more and more shows coming out that deal with these types of issues, and I look forward to those. But I don't look forward for a season 2 or anything, so I'm gonna keep it a mini meal.
Okay. So we had 2 mini meals and 2 full meals. That gives us a cumulative score of 3.5. So we can still round it up closely to a full meal for I Am a Virgo.
Can I throw in something that we didn't really touch on? Even though Cootie Jarrell Jerome was a weak protagonist and the ensemble made him better, I think that Walton Goggins was a great antagonist. I think Walton Goggins is a great actor, and he can give such a range of character. And I think the way that he played the hero was fantastic. So he was great, and Jones was my favorite character by far.
I thought everybody knew their parts and did very well in this. Even Michael Epps, and I can't stand Michael Epps. Not stand anything he's in. I don't even like his stand up. So I think he's terrible at everything, but he did good in this.
I think Elijah Wood being there was kind of funny.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm still wondering, like, Scat was a ghost, and I was like, he was there, but I was kind of confused why there was a ghost version. Like, that was never really explained. It was just like, all right, he's there.
That was his. That was Boots Riley's Star Wars tribute. He made him a Jedi ghost.
Yeah, like with a little bit of ET action, falling off the bike.
Off the bike, yeah, flying into the moon, flying and jumped the ramp.
Yeah.
I thought it was a commentary on mental health and how people who are dead and gone, affect your decision making and everything that you do. So, as people have been dead from this world, and you still making decisions based on what they think or what they would do or how you feel about them. So
that's a hard thing.
Yeah.
That's hard.
All right. Chuck, got anything to say before we head out, sir?
Oh man. Next week we off because it's Comic-Con.
Right. Rakai, you got anything to say before we head out, sir?
No. What's our show in 2 weeks? What are we doing in 2 weeks?
I think it's Secret Invasions.
Secret Invasion. Okay.
Yeah, it comes on Wednesdays.
Little Nick Fury.
Yep. I think that's what it is. Catherine, ma'am, you got anything to say before we head out?
Have a good night and enjoy the rest of. Oh yeah, Barbenheimer is coming out, so enjoy Barbenheimer.
Okay. And Catherine, and we do Secret Invasion in 2 weeks because we're off next week due to Comic-Con. If you want to come join us for that, please. You know that you always have an open invitation to come join us.
Awesome. Yeah, I will definitely do that. I kept on forgetting it comes out Wednesday.
All right. Benjies, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Shouts out to Digital Click. They provide all of our surroundings and our image. And if you ever need some marketing, please consider working with Digital Click. Shouts out to Rodney, our technical director. He puts up the images for our ratings. And shouts out to you in the chat. Mark, we appreciate you for always stopping by, and all the people that support us here on the Geekish Network. BingeWorthy Podcast being one of the shows. We also have Pod Squadron and Geek Beast, and we're going to be adding a whole host of other shows. The reason that I mentioned that is because at the Geekish Network, we do dope shit, right? We've got amazing people in front of the camera and behind the camera. And we're doing it to create content for people who look like you. So please support us. Like us on Facebook, follow us, give us some likes, hit those like buttons, because as you all know, that helps to feed the algorithm and sends us out to promote us across the web. We look forward to doing this every week. As we just said, we are going to take next week off, and then we're coming back with Sam Jackson's Secret Invasion. So come back and join us. Same geek time, same geek channel. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Peace. Bye.